Welcome back, part 3. We are on page 9 and 10. We're going to be completing these together because they are identical, and that will save us some time. So the first thing on our pre-cutting guide was we cut 2 pieces that were 6 5/8 by 8. And what we did was we laid each one on our scoring board, so we were 6 5/8 across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. And we called those fold out. Next, we had 2 pieces that were 2 1/8 by 6 7/8. We called these a pocket. We laid these on our scoring board, so we were 2 1/8 across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch. We turned it, so now we are 6 7/8 across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 6 3/8 on each one of these. We had 2 pieces that we cut, 4 5/8 by 5 1/4. We called it a flip. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 4 5/8 across, and all we did was score each at a 1/2 inch. Our last ones was 2 pieces that were 5 5/8 by 8 1/2. We called these folders. We laid these so we were 8 1/2 across, and we scored at 4 1/4 right in the middle for each one of these. We're going to begin by grabbing both of these pieces out of our paper pack. We're going to double them up. They're the same. Measure over 10 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. On both of these pieces, after you made that cut, we're going to double them up. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. Now when you do that, you'll find that the cut will be right here. We'll have just enough of these two in our main thing, so no worries. 8 inches, cut. This is what you should have. This one is going to be here. This one we're just going to flip over. First 2 that we need are our fold outs. So let's take a moment and we're going to fold on those score lines. You're going to have a hinge off to the left for this one, and you're going to have a hinge off to the right for this one. Let's start over here. Here's our hinge. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease. You'll still be able to see your other one. We're going to slide that back behind and glue this down. After we're done, we'll feel, and then we will press back on the other one, making sure we have a nice crease. We're going to do the same with this one. Hinge off to the left on the outside score line, pinch and crease, and we'll hook this one on. Then we will fill and press back on the other hinge. So again, the one with the 2 down here is our right side, this is our left side. We need to set our magnets now before we forget. So we're going to open these up, both of them. Get my stuff out from underneath. Grab a couple minuses, a couple plus, and you have these magnets left for another project. We're going to come in about 1 inch from the middle. Place that on this one, and on this one, the fold outs over here will come in about 1 inch. Okay, make sure your spacing is accurate here. Close these up. Let's flip them over, and we will let these find the mate, and we will just place some glue down there. Let's give our magnets a moment to dry. In the meantime, let's get ready and cut some stuff. In your paper pack, you will find this print on the back. It is this. Let's turn this sideways. We have an A here. Measure over 7 3/4 and cut. Next, we're going to make 2 cuts. Measure over 5 3/4 and cut. Measure over again 5 3/4 and cut. When you're done, this is what you will have. We're going to apply glue. We will center that in there, top, bottom, side to side on both of these. And we're going to glue them down. And I'm going to pull these up a little more so you can see. Once you got it glued down, let's burnish that down. I've got mine down. The next thing that we want to get after are our 2 pockets. We're going to assemble these like we've done every other pocket, cutting out the squares, folding back, adhering the flaps together, just like we do. I got my pockets done, and on both of these, your opening as it is at the top. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to place it to the bottom of our decorative paper on our fold out, and we're going to glue that down. And we'll do that for the other side as well. I got those down. Next, let's find our paper for right here. In your reserves, you will find this long strip. First thing we're going to do is measure over, and by the way, this is 12 inches by about 2 7/8. We're going to measure over 5 3/4 and cut. So now you have this, and we are about 2 7/8 wide, but we want to get the middle. So measure over 1 7/16 and cut. And that should get us close to the middle there. Once you have these pieces, what you can do is you can just place this all the way down to the bottom of your pocket and glue these down on both of them. In your reserves, you will have a cutting off from your main page. It looks like this and like this. You see where this is here? And I'm going to give you a measurement. You have 2 of them in there, so you should be able to locate one fairly easy. 1 7/8 by 12 inches. We're going to stick this on our paper cutter, and you see the blue trim? We're going to stick and cut that all the way down, and I will show you mine. This is what I got. All we're going to do with this is lay this down on the pocket, and we can measure to fit. If you don't want to do it that way, you can stick it on your paper cutter, measure over 5 3/4 cut, measure over again 5 3/4 and cut. Let's glue these down. That gives us a little color over there. And I'm just going to leave just a little bit of white border lip showing there. Next, we're going to grab our 2 4 5/8 by 5 1/4 flips, and we're going to fold on those score lines. We'll measure down from the top of our decorative paper about 3/8. So here I have the glue, and I'm just folding that back, and we will get that on there side to side as even as we can. I'm going to hold mine up so I can see what it is I'm doing here. Whoops, I'm all over the board. I think that's good enough, and I'll burnish that. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Now there's no magnets on this. That's what those folders that we created are for. They actually will hold this down for us. So less magnets. And I'm going to try and get these as even as possible. Since I did not mark mine, I'm just going to kind of shimmy these up next to each other and see where it was that I fell. Right around there, I think, is even. Yep. In your reserves, you will find this print. On the back, it is this. Let's flip that to where our trim is over here. Measure over 5 inches and cut. We have 2 different cuts. From this side, we're going to measure over 3 7/8 and cut. So once that's cut off, we'll flip it over to this side and measure over 3 7/8 and cut. So by doing that, we get the scroll at the top of each one of these. And I have some of the leftover residue from my book here. But one's going to go right here, and we'll center it. And then the other one we're going to glue down right here. So let's do that. I have both of mine down. Let's flip these up. Now grab a piece of your cream or whatever solid colored cardstock to add into the prints that you have. I'm going to use cream. Cut 2 pieces that are 3 7/8 by 5 inch. Once you've done that, let's glue these down. We'll center them right on in there, and we'll glue these down. I have both of mine down. Let's get something for here. Now, this piece here was left over from when we cut off the trim. We're going to stick this on our paper cutter, and I really like the look of that. Let's cut all the way down to get this trim. Now this piece here is 12 inches long. I want to get just this in here, so I am going to cut right along the edges to cut off the blue. Just right on the line of that blue. Now I'm going to just lay this down. I'll make a pencil mark here where I need to cut, and I should have enough for the other side. And I'm going to glue these down. And then over here, I'll do the same. And I think you can see what I'm doing there. You can put it on your paper cutter or do it by hand. There we go. And that looks really nice. We can close this up. For now, let's just grab our folders, and we're going to fold on those fold lines, score lines. Once you've done that, just stick that right in there. It should hold that down. And we'll do it here. And then we can open these up. And we're going to get the paper for right inside, here and here. In your paper pack, you should have one of these. We're going to turn this sideways, measure over 7 3/4 and cut. Next, we're going to do 2 cuts. Measure over 5 3/4, cut. Measure over again 5 3/4 and cut. This is what you should have. For this side here, we'll place this one over here. It matches in beautifully. And then the one with the fairy will be on this one. We'll center it in there, and then we're going to burnish that down. So let's do that. I have both of mine burnished down. Let's close that. And now we're going to work on our folders. The openings are both going to be off to the right. In your reserves, you'll have the bottom part of this. We just use that paper. On the back, it is this. Let's just turn it. The cradle is up here. Measure over 4 inches and cut. Now that we have this, we're going to make 2 cuts. Measure over 5 3/8 and cut. Measure over 5 3/8 and cut. Let me get my let me push these out of the way so I can get my folders in view here for you. So we just cut those. We're going to flip them over and we're going to glue them down to the front of our folder. Remember, the opening is to the right. And I think I'll have some of the print at the top on these, just like that. Yeah, that'll look good. Now, as far as the inside, you'll want to, at the end of the tutorial, add your decorative paper to in here. What was that? Ink? It'll get covered. But let's get the final pieces here. So in your reserves, you will have this. Choose whichever ones you want. I think I'm going to go with this one. The rings, I haven't used that in here. And I think I'll go with love. So all I'm going to do is cut out and around these, and then I'm going to glue it down to white cardstock and cut out around that. And that way it will frame these and it'll look really good. And I'll show you mine when I'm done. I have mine mounted to the white, and I did the best I could, but I really like that how it stands out a little more. And I'm going to glue this down. Now, by no means do you have to glue it down to the white cardstock. It does look good without. It's just my personal preference. So I'm going to glue this down to the front, and I'll glue this one down. Okay, I'm going to slip this right on in my pocket. And here, page 9 and 10 are done. Let's flip it over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on either side, and glue in between. And we're going to put these in our book together, especially for the last page. I have the score tape off of my page 9. I'm going to come on over here. The same rule applies 1/8 inch in from the side, approximately. And I'll place that, and I'm going to open that up and burnish it really quick. So page 10, what we're going to do is be mindful of where that hinge is. You see on here where our seam is, that's the seam of our white cardstock. That's a great starting point. And then just try to match it up with the bottom of your decorative paper over there. And then you're going to just place it, and it should be fine. And then you can burnish it down. So go ahead and do that. Both of mine are done. Both of my pages are in the book, and they are down. I think it looks wonderful. I do like the trim, how it comes up like this and then a trim lower, so it's just not all the same. Okay, we're going to reinforce the hinges now before we end. So flip to your first page. In your reserves, you will have a couple of these strips. They're 12 inches long. The first thing I would like you to do is to measure over 8.5 inches and cut. We're going to be placing strips over our hinges, and then we will tee it at the top. And there's not much to tee, but it helps. So these are 8.5 inch, and we're going to be cutting strips. But if you notice, that will reach above and below your actual hinge. So on each one of these, what I would like you to do is to measure over 3/8 and cut, measure over 3/8 and cut, and do it on both of them until you have maybe 7 or 8 strips. And I think we'll be able to get that. So after making about 7, I have this left just in case I need it. What do I have? No, I have 8 strips. And then I have this left over in case. So I'm going to look and see which ones I want to place. So I'm in the very beginning of the book. And if I was to put that top and bottom of my album, I just want to lay it evenly over the top and bottom of our inner pages. I'm not going to go on this side. I'm going to leave that alone. Otherwise, we'll be having to trim all the way around our page to make it look right. So I have a blue one that I was able to cut, and I might use that to tee across the top, but I'm going to just kind of play around with these and see which one I like the best. And I do like this. It has a little blue down here and it reaches up, so this is the one I'm going to use for my first page. Here's my second, and I think I might alternate, so I'll use this one. It will fit right in on that inside spacing without messing with my hinges if you did it at 3/8. So that one, and I'll probably alternate this one. I have this one, which I can alternate in there. And then for the last page, let's see, I think I'll go with this one that I cut. And these are extras. So I'm going to bring this up so you can kind of see what I've done here. When you're placing the strips, notice that I have them coming out underneath the page down here. Try to keep these straight with each other when you're gluing them down. It's kind of hard, I don't have this glued down. And then you'll notice at the top I have the same thing. So first things first, let's glue all these down. When you're gluing them down, do use your tool to make sure that you get it down on the spine itself, up there. I have all mine done. Now, while your album is open like this, take one maybe with the blue trim, and I want you to line it up with the left side of this trim, and you'll have to pull it down a little so you can see the rest of your trim under there, but you'll go and use your pencil on this and to the right side of that last one, and then you're going to clip. Where did I put that mark? Here it is. Now, this is way too wide, so what I'm going to do is I am going to cut just a sliver, maybe 1/8 or less, depending on how you placed your stuff, but just a sliver. This sliver lays right across the bottom of your spine so that it caps this off and you don't see all those the little things that poke over the edge. So here's this, and I'm not going over the top of my spine and I'm not interfering, so it's just a sliver that fits. I'll bring my album up now and you can see right across the bottom of those. So I'm going to flip my album around. I'm going to take a little bit of that and see if that works for down here, and it looks like it's a good fit. So I'm just going to hand cut a sliver, and I'm going to apply glue, and this I'm going to have to trim off a little right here. I can see that to match up. There we go. So I'm going to bring this up now. So now you can see, and let's flip. So we have this page, this, oops. Looks like I had a little bit of glue seep out. Well, this is where I can fix this, guys. I have enough over here to where I can cut down another piece and get it in there. And all I'm going to do is match up to the top of my white cardstock on this one. And there, that takes care of that. Still have a white border. Let's see, what else? Boy, that's it. Our album is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Here are some extra things that you can do to really make this stand out more. You can add some flowers to the cover if you were into that. I'm going to leave mine real basic, but adding some flowers maybe over here. Keep in mind you won't want to hang them off here or you won't be able to open this, but somewhere around here, and you'll still be able to open it up. leaves, whatever you want to do. Another thing that would be pretty for this is some of those metal corners for your album. I don't know if some of you have seen those. But I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. It was so much fun to work with this Sleeping Beauty paper. I really enjoyed it. Brings back a lot of childhood memories for me. Happy crafting, everyone, and I will see you on my next large album tutorial.